Hi, my name is Sheik and I hit Eternity on 2 accounts playing mostly Strategist. Here are a few tips I can give you that might make your climb a little bit easier. Number 1. Do damage, or play Mantis. You might find yourself doing insane amounts of healing, tons more than the other healers in the match, yet you are still losing. Well, I'm here to tell you, don't worry, there is an easy fix. A common problem in ranked games is that you are constantly healing your teammates, but nothing ever seems to die. You can change this by adapting your playstyle. Most strategists deal damage, but some are better at healing and DPSing at the same time than others. I use Mantis and Cloak and Dagger to deal damage while also healing. My aim as Cloak is to grab a takedown and then go back to healing. It's important to strike a balance between the two, as you don't want to be caught sucking on a tank for 20 seconds as Cloak, only to turn around and find out that your teammates perished while spamming need healing. However, my main DPS strategist pick is Mantis, as she can spend 90% of the game DPSing, as she applies healing over time buffs to allies, which is only a short animation. Mantis can also damage boost herself. She also has a sleep that allows her to easily win 1v1s, as you can land at least one headshot on the stunned target, which makes her the perfect strategist to carry your games. While Mantis's ultimate is a good defensive ult, you can also use it aggressively to run down the enemies with the overheal and the extra movement speed to ensure you win a fight. But be careful when doing this, as you need to make sure your team has a defensive ultimate for the next fight. But if you don't want to play Mantis, the other strategists can also get a pick for their team. Luna Snow can freeze an enemy, then line up a headshot with her normal attack for an easy kill. Adam Warlock can be lethal with his volley attack, and Loki does huge damage when his 2 clones are up. In summary, look to throw out some damage wherever you can and collapse on enemies that are split from the team. Don't just be a heal bot. Tip number 2. Use your ultimate correctly. This is probably the most important tip. Lots of strategist players make the same mistakes with their ultimates. The first mistake is wasting ultimates. It is important to understand the power of your ultimate relative to your team composition and the enemies. For example, if you're playing Luna Snow and you have a Rocket Raccoon, you only have one defensive ultimate, meaning that you should not be wasting this ultimate and should be saving it to counter the most dangerous enemy ultimates. The second mistake is double support ulting. Using your ultimate at the same time as your other strategist is the biggest mistake you can make as a strategist. This means that you won't have an ultimate coming up anytime soon to counter any enemy ultimates. Communication is extremely important, and you might want to use a voice chat or simply type in the chat to coordinate with your other healer on who is going to use their ultimate first. And the last mistake is spam ulting. Using your ultimate the second it is charged can be a good play, especially if you charged it incredibly quickly at the start of a round. However, it is usually smarter as a strategist to hold onto your ult to counter enemy tank or DPS ultimates. However, if you are going to throw out your ultimate without countering an enemy ultimate, you have to ensure that you win the fight before the enemy uses their ults after your ult expires. I will be making some videos soon on how to use each strategist ultimate correctly, so make sure you're subscribed to my channel to be notified of future videos. Tip number 3 is choose a good team comp and think about team ups. It is important to make sure your team has enough healing, so let me give you a quick summary of each strategist's healing potential. You always want a main healer on your team if there are 2 tanks, which would be someone like Luna Snow, Cloak and Dagger, and Invisible Woman, as they have a lot of healing potential. Then the supplementary healers are Mantis, Adam Warlock, Loki, and Rocket Raccoon, mainly because these characters don't have as high healing outputs, but also because they mix in DPSing. So for example, if you have 2 tanks on your team and you lock in Rocket and Loki, this healing combination will not be providing consistent strong healing to keep your tanks alive. Oh, and then there's Jeff. While good players can easily make different healer combinations work, it is safer in solo queue to throw a main healer into your team to keep your randos alive. My advice is to urge your other healer to play a main healer so you can throw out DPS as Mantis. Tip number 4 is positioning. Don't die. While this is easier said than done, make sure you stay safe so that you can keep your teammates alive, but don't run too far away so that your team can help you if you get dove. If you find yourself dying a lot, don't be afraid to switch strategists to one that deals with dive characters more effectively. For example, Loki's immunity, Mantis' sleep, and Adam Warlock's soul bond can be very useful against dive. To throw in an extra little tip for you guys, Luna Snow. Luna Snow is undeniably the strongest healer in the game. Her ultimate is very powerful, and you should be able to keep all your allies alive except against one-shot abilities like Iron Mantle and Hawkeye Headshot. If Luna isn't banned and your teammate isn't playing her, it is definitely a good idea to lock her in. Her No More team up also got buffed in the last patch. You better get ready to put on a show for a free win. And the final tip is don't tunnel vision to heal your tanks. A lot of strategists tend to focus on keeping their tanks up. While that ultimate charge is yummy, don't forsake your other allies. A squishier ally will die a lot faster, so make sure you have a rough awareness of your DPS and other healers. If your team is first to lose an ally, the likelihood of your team losing the team fight is very high. It is very easy to get annoyed at your teammates if they're spamming need healing, but make sure you actually are healing your DPS and keeping your other healers up. It doesn't matter if you have the most healing in the game if all this healing is on the tanks and you're letting everyone else die. While it is easy to look at a scoreboard and pat yourself on the back for all the healing you've done, it's very important to prioritize that healing on low health allies. A small side note, remember there are flying characters in the game. In many games I see characters like Storm and Iron Man die without any healing. It's easy to forget about them when they're in the air. I would recommend throwing your Luna E on them or playing a character that can heal them with ease, such as Mantis or Cloak and Dagger. The time you spend trying to find them in the air and land your shots on them is valuable time spent away from healing the rest of the team. So to summarize everything, tip number 1, do DPS and don't heal bot. Tip number 2, don't waste your ult and think about what you need to use it for in each game. Tip number 3, pick a good comp with enough healing. Tip number 4, think about your positioning, swap characters if you're dying too much to dive characters. And tip number 5, don't tunnel vision heal your tanks, with the secret tip of making sure Luna Snow is in your team. And because you guys made it to the end of the video, I'll throw in another extra tip. Don't throw out your Strategist ultimate against ultimates that can be interrupted pretty easily. Some examples of ultimates you can interrupt easily are Spider-Man, Penny Parker, and Scarlet Witch. And if you get really good at interrupting with your freeze or your sleep or other CC, then try and interrupt a Doctor Strange ultimate. Focusing on interrupting enemy ultimates is very effective, as you can save your own ultimate for another enemy ultimate that could wipe your team. I hope these tips were helpful. Let me know what you think, and if you have any questions about your climb, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a future video, and I'll see you guys next time.